Welcome to the Sleep Outpost. If you enjoy drifting off to sleep with stories like this, hit subscribe so you never miss a new one. Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let tonight's journey begin. There is a meadow at the edge of the world where the grasses grow tall and silver in the fading light. And if you were to walk through it now, slowly, with nowhere in particular to be, you would feel the soft brush of each blade against your fingertips, cool and whispering, as though the meadow itself were telling you a very old story that it had been saving just for this moment, just for you. The sky above is the color of lavender and amber, the kind of sky that appears only in the gentlest hours of evening, when the sun has already slipped below the distant hills, but has left behind its warmth like a gift upon the land. There are no sharp edges here. Everything is soft. The horizon blurs into a haze of rose and violet, and the first stars are beginning to appear, faintly, shyly, like small candles being lit one by one in the windows of a house you are slowly walking toward. Let your shoulders soften now. Let your breath come easily, like the breeze that moves through this meadow, unhurried and warm. You are walking along a path that is barely a path at all, just a gentle impression in the grass where others have walked before you, long ago, their footsteps so light that the earth remembers them only as a suggestion. The ground beneath your feet is soft, yielding, covered in a carpet of clover and moss that cushions each step. You can feel it through the soles of your shoes, or perhaps you have taken your shoes off and are walking barefoot, feeling the cool earth and the tiny, velvet leaves of the clover pressing gently against your skin. Ahead of you, rising from the meadow like a single candle flame against the darkening sky, is a tower. It is not a forbidding tower, not a tower of sharp stone and cold wind. It is a warm tower, round and graceful, built from pale golden stone that seems to hold the last of the evening light within its walls. Ivy climbs its lower reaches in gentle spirals, and small windows glow with a soft amber light that spills out into the gathering dusk like honey poured from a jar. This is the Tower of Veldramyn, and it has been standing here in this meadow for longer than anyone can remember. Longer, perhaps, than the meadow itself, though that seems impossible when you look at how naturally the grasses grow around its base, how the wildflowers cluster near its doorway as though they were planted there by someone who loved beautiful things. The tower is not very tall, perhaps 5 stories, perhaps 6, but it seems taller than it is because of the way it rises so gracefully from the flat expanse of the meadow, because of the way the sky wraps around it, because of the thin wisp of smoke that curls from a chimney near its peak, rising in a lazy spiral that dissolves into the evening air like a whispered thought. As you draw closer, you can hear sounds, very soft sounds, the kind you have to be quiet to notice. There is the gentle chirping of crickets beginning their evening song in the grass around you. There is the distant, melodic call of a bird settling into its roost for the night, a 3-note lullaby repeated again and again. And there is something else, something coming from the tower itself, a low, rhythmic sound, like breathing, deep and slow and immensely peaceful. Breathe with it now if you like. Let your own breath find that rhythm, slow and deep, in and out, like the tide of a very calm sea. The door of the tower is round at the top, made of dark wood that has been worn smooth by centuries of gentle use. It is slightly ajar, and the warm light from within spills through the gap in a narrow golden line. There is no lock, no latch to trouble with. The door swings open at your lightest touch, silent on its hinges, and you step inside. The air within is warm and still and scented with something you cannot quite name, something like old paper and dried herbs and candle wax and the faintest trace of wood smoke. It is a comforting smell, the kind of smell that makes you think of libraries and hearths and quiet evenings spent reading while rain patters against the window. You are in a small, circular entryway. The floor is smooth stone, worn into gentle hollows by many feet over many years. A staircase spirals upward along the curved wall, its steps worn smooth, its railing made of dark wood polished to a deep gleam by the touch of countless hands. Candles in small iron sconces line the wall, their flames steady and golden, casting a warm, flickering light that makes shadows dance softly on the stone. There is no hurry. There is nowhere you need to be but here, in this warm tower at the beginning of a quiet evening. The stairs curve upward, inviting you to climb at whatever pace feels right, and so you begin one step, then another, each one carrying you higher into the tower, higher into the stillness, higher into the gentle story that is waiting for you above. The staircase winds upward in a slow, graceful spiral, and with each step you take, the sounds of the meadow outside grow softer and more distant, until all you can hear is the gentle whisper of your own footsteps on the stone and the quiet, steady pulse of that deep breathing somewhere above you, slow and rhythmic, like the heartbeat of the tower itself. The walls along the staircase are not bare. They are covered with maps. Maps of every kind, maps drawn in ink on parchment yellowed with age, maps painted in delicate watercolors on sheets of fine linen, maps etched into thin plates of copper that gleam in the candlelight, maps embroidered in silk thread on panels of dark velvet. Some are small enough to hold in the palm of your hand. Others stretch from floor to ceiling, covering entire sections of the curved wall with their intricate lines and tiny, careful lettering. You pause to look at one as you climb, a map of a coastline, drawn in deep blue and green ink, showing the curve of a bay where small islands scatter across the water like stepping stones. The lines are so fine, so delicate, that they seem to shimmer in the candlelight. Tiny illustrations of ships with billowing sails dot the water, and in the corners of the map, small drawings of sea creatures, gentle ones, with kind eyes peer out from among swirls of decorative waves. Allow your breathing to slow, to deepen. There is such peace in this place, such quiet attention to beautiful detail. You continue upward. The next landing opens into a small room, the first of several that branch off from the staircase at each level of the tower. This room is a library, or something like a library. The walls are lined with shelves, and the shelves are filled not only with books but with scrolls, with folded maps, with small wooden boxes that might contain compasses or colored inks or tiny, precious instruments whose purposes you can only imagine. A reading chair sits near the window, upholstered in faded green velvet, with a knitted blanket draped over one arm. A small table beside it holds a cup of tea that is still faintly steaming, as though someone was sitting here only moments ago and has just stepped away. The window looks out over the meadow, which is darker now, the grass is silver blue in the starlight, and the sky above is deepening toward indigo, the stars growing brighter and more numerous with each passing moment. You do not sit in the chair, though you could. You could sit and stay and read and rest, and that would be perfectly fine. But something draws you upward still, that gentle sound, that deep, peaceful breathing, and a warm curiosity that feels like being led by a very kind hand. The next level holds a room full of colors. Shelves along the walls are lined with hundreds of small glass jars, each one containing a different pigment, powdered minerals and dried flowers and crushed stones and things gathered from every corner of the world, each one a different shade. Midnight blue and forest green and the warm red of autumn leaves. The pale pink of cherry blossoms and the deep gold of late afternoon sunlight. Silver like moonlight on water, and a purple so dark it is almost black, like the sky at the very edge of night. Let your eyes rest on these colors in your mind. Let them blend and soften, one into another, like a sunset dissolving into dusk. There are brushes here too, arranged in tall ceramic jars, brushes made from the softest fibers, their handles smooth and warm to the touch. And inks in small glass bottles, each one a different color, each one corked with a tiny stopper of polished wood. The room smells of linseed oil and ground pigment and something sweet, like dried lavender. You climb higher. The next room is a workshop of instruments, brass telescopes with lenses of pale blue glass, sextants and astrolabes with their delicate arms and engraved scales, compasses of every size with their needles resting in perfect stillness, all pointing in the same direction, as though agreeing on something fundamental and unshakable. There are magnifying glasses with handles of carved bone, and tiny, jewel-like loops that would let you examine the most minute detail of a map's surface. Every hair-thin line, every microscopic letter. Everything in this tower has been made with extraordinary care. Everything has been placed with intention and love. You can feel it in the air. This is a place where someone has spent a very long time doing work that they find deeply meaningful, and that quiet devotion has seeped into the very stones, filling the tower with a sense of purpose and peace. One more flight of stairs. The breathing is closer now, louder but still so gentle, so steady. It vibrates faintly in the stones beneath your feet, a resonance you can feel in your chest, and it is deeply, profoundly soothing, like being rocked in a cradle, like being held by something immensely strong and immensely kind. You reach the topmost landing. Before you is a door larger than the others, made of the same dark, ancient wood, but this one is carved. The carving shows a map of the sky, constellations and planets, and the long, graceful curve of a dragon in flight, its wings spread wide, its body curving among the stars as though it were swimming through the heavens. You press your palm against the door, and it is warm. The door opens, and you step into the room at the top of the tower. And everything is exactly as you somehow knew it would be, warm, glowing, filled with the most extraordinary and beautiful things you have ever seen, and presided over by the most unexpected and gentle presence you could imagine. The room is large and circular, occupying the entire top floor of the tower. The ceiling is high and domed, and it is painted, or perhaps enchanted, to show the night sky as it appears at this very moment, the stars moving in their slow, ancient courses, the constellations wheeling overhead in perfect silence. The dome glows faintly with its own soft light, so that the room is bathed in a gentle, silvery luminescence that mingles with the warmer glow of candles and lanterns placed here and there on every surface. And in the center of the room, curled around a massive work table like a cat curled around a warm hearth, is a dragon. Not the dragon of nightmares or legends of destruction. This dragon is old and quiet and immensely wise, with scales the color of aged parchment, cream and gold and the faintest blush of rose, like the pages of a very old and very loved book. Its eyes are the deep, warm amber of honey held up to firelight, and they are half closed in concentration as one of its great, clawed hands, surprisingly delicate, surprisingly dexterous, moves a fine brush across a sheet of parchment spread on the table before it. This is the dragon Cartographer. This is Veldramyn. Let your whole body relax now. You are safe here. You are welcome. There is nothing in this room that could ever cause you harm. Only warmth and beauty and the deep, slow breathing of a creature that has been alive for longer than the mountains and has never once raised its voice in anger. The breathing you heard from below, that deep, rhythmic pulse, is Veldramyn's breath. Slow and steady, each inhale lasting many seconds, each exhale a warm, gentle wind that stirs the edges of the parchment on the table and makes the candle flames lean and dance. The air that flows from the dragon's nostrils is warm and carries the scent of sandalwood and old forests and something elemental, like the smell of stone after rain. Veldramyn looks up as you enter, and those great amber eyes regard you with an expression of such gentle kindness, such unhurried welcome, that you feel as though you have been expected, not in the anxious way of someone waiting impatiently, but in the comfortable way of an old friend who knew you would come eventually and is simply pleased that you have arrived. The dragon does not speak, not in words, not yet, but it inclines its great head toward you in a gesture that is unmistakably an invitation, and one of its hands, the one not holding the brush, makes a slow, graceful motion toward a chair that sits near the work table. It is a large, deep chair, upholstered in something impossibly soft, with cushions that seem to have been shaped by years of comfortable sitting. It is exactly the kind of chair you would choose if you could choose any chair in the world. You sit, and the chair receives you like an embrace. The cushions shift and settle around you, supporting you perfectly, and you feel the last traces of tension leave your body, the tightness in your neck, the knot between your shoulder blades, the subtle clenching in your jaw that you did not even know was there until it releases. Breathe deeply now. Let each exhale carry away a little more of whatever you have been holding. You do not need to hold anything here. From this chair, you can see the work table clearly. It is enormous, a great slab of dark wood, scarred and stained by centuries of use, its surface covered with the tools and materials of the cartographer's art. There are pots of ink in every color. Stacks of parchment, some blank, some covered with the most intricate and beautiful maps you have ever seen. Rulers and straightedges and curved templates for drawing coastlines. Small dishes of gold leaf, thin as breath, waiting to be laid down in delicate lines. Magnifying glasses and tiny, sharp-pointed pens and brushes, so fine that their tips are thinner than a single hair. And the maps. The maps are everywhere, not just on the table but pinned to the walls, spread across secondary tables, rolled into scrolls and stored in cubbyholes along the curved walls, hanging from the ceiling on thin silver chains so that they turn slowly in the warm air currents, their surfaces catching the light. Veldramyn returns to the work at hand, and you watch, quietly, peacefully, with no need to understand everything you see, no need to do anything but rest in this chair, and let your eyes follow the slow, precise movements of the dragon's hand as it draws. The map that Veldramyn is working on now is a map of rivers. You can see them taking shape beneath the dragon's brush. Long, sinuous lines of blue and silver that wind across the pale surface of the parchment like threads of silk laid down by a careful hand. Each river begins somewhere high on the map, in mountains that the dragon has already drawn, soft, rounded peaks shaded in gray and blue and the palest green, and flows downward, branching and joining and branching again, tracing the paths that water has carved through the land over thousands and thousands of patient years. The dragon works slowly. There is no urgency in any movement, no haste in any stroke. Each line is drawn with a deliberation that is almost meditative, the brush moving in long, fluid motions that seem to flow from Veldramyn's breath itself. Each stroke beginning on an inhale and ending on an exhale, so that the act of drawing and the act of breathing are one and the same, inseparable, like the rhythm of waves upon a shore. Let your own breath follow this rhythm now. Slow and deep, in and out, like the rivers flowing across the map, your breath flows through you, unhurried, natural, finding its own easy course. As Veldramyn draws, the rivers seem to come alive. It is not magic, exactly, or perhaps it is a magic so subtle and so ancient that it does not feel like magic at all, but simply like the way things are. The blue lines on the parchment shimmer faintly, and you can almost hear them, a soft, murmuring sound, like distant water flowing over smooth stones. It is the quietest sound imaginable, barely there at all. Just a suggestion of water, a memory of water, a dream of water flowing through a dream of mountains. The dragon pauses, dips its brush into a pot of silver ink, and begins to add details to the rivers, tiny rapids where the water tumbles over rocks, shown as the faintest scribble of white against the blue. Pools where the river widens and slows, drawn as smooth, rounded shapes of deeper color. And at the edges of the rivers, the dragon adds the vegetation that grows along the banks, willows with their trailing branches, shown in the most delicate strokes of green, and reeds and rushes rendered as tiny vertical lines, like the gentlest rain falling upward from the water. You notice that the dragon's breathing has shifted. It is deeper now, slower, and each exhale carries a low, rumbling sound, almost below the threshold of hearing. It is not a growl. It is more like a purr or a hum, a deep resonance that vibrates in the air and in the stone and in the cushions of your chair. It is the sound of profound contentment, of a being completely absorbed in work that it loves. The sound settles into you like warmth settling into cold hands. You feel it in your chest, in your bones, a gentle vibration that eases something deep inside you, something that has been tight for longer than you can remember. Let it ease. Let the sound move through you. There is nothing to resist here, nothing to hold against. On the map, a river reaches a wide, flat plain, and here Veldramyn draws it differently. The line broadens, meanders, loops back on itself in lazy curves. The dragon adds small illustrations beside the river, tiny houses with smoke rising from their chimneys, fields of grain shown in parallel lines of gold, a bridge arching over the water, its reflection perfect in the still surface below. Everything is miniature, perfect, drawn with a precision that is almost impossible to comprehend. How can hands so large produce details so infinitely small? But this is the gift of patience, you understand. This is what happens when you have all the time in the world and choose to spend it on something beautiful. Each tiny house, each thread of smoke, each ripple in the water has been given the dragon's full attention, and that attention has made it real in a way that transcends mere ink and paper. You feel your eyelids growing heavy. The warmth of the room, the deep rhythm of the dragon's breathing, the soft murmur of painted rivers, all of it conspires to draw you deeper into relaxation, deeper into the cushions of your chair, deeper into a state of perfect, floating calm. Let your eyes close for a moment if they want to. You can still see the map in your mind, the rivers winding through mountains, the tiny houses by the water, the willows trailing their branches in the current. The image glows behind your closed eyes like a gentle light, and you drift with it, carried like a leaf on one of Veldramyn's painted rivers, going nowhere in particular, content simply to float. When you open your eyes, or perhaps they were never truly closed, perhaps you have simply been resting in that gentle space between waking and dreaming, you notice that Veldramyn has set down the brush and is rising from the work table. The dragon moves with a grace that seems impossible for a creature of such size. Its body unfolds slowly, like a great cat stretching after a long nap, and for a moment you see the full span of its wings, folded close against its back, their membranes the color of old gold, veined with a delicate tracery of darker lines like the pattern of leaves held up to autumn sunlight. Then the wings settle, and the dragon turns toward one of the walls where shelves stretch from floor to ceiling, filled with hundreds upon hundreds of rolled scrolls. Veldramyn reaches up, slowly, deliberately, and selects a scroll from one of the higher shelves. The dragon brings it to the table and unrolls it with careful hands, placing small, smooth stones at each corner to hold it flat. Then it looks at you with those warm amber eyes and makes a gentle sound, a low, soft rumble that you understand, without words, as an invitation to come closer and look. You rise from your chair, slowly, dreamily, your body feeling pleasantly heavy and warm, and step to the table's edge. The map before you is old, very old. The parchment has darkened to the color of tea, and the edges are soft and slightly frayed, as though they have been handled with love many times over many years. But the images upon it are still vivid, still precise, still glowing with an inner light that has not faded. It is a map of a forest. Not just any forest, but a forest drawn with such care, such intimate knowledge, that you feel as though you could step into it. Every tree has been individually rendered, oaks and beeches and birches and pines, each one distinct, each one with its own character, its own shape, its own pattern of branches spreading against the sky. The forest floor is shown in layers of brown and green and gold, with fallen leaves and mossy stones and tiny mushrooms growing in clusters at the bases of the oldest trees. Breathe slowly. Let the image of this forest fill your mind. Imagine you can smell the earth and the leaves, the resin of the pines, the damp sweetness of moss after rain. Through the forest, a path winds, drawn in a thin line of warm brown, dappled with spots of gold where sunlight falls through the canopy. The path curves and meanders, disappearing behind trees and reappearing further on, leading deeper and deeper into the green heart of the woods. Small animals are hidden among the trees if you look carefully, a rabbit in the underbrush, drawn in just a few tiny strokes of gray. A deer at the forest's edge, barely visible, its spots blending with the dappled light. An owl perched on a branch, its eyes closed in sleep. You realize that this is not an imagined place. This is a real forest, or was once long ago, and Veldramyn walked through it slowly over the course of many days, and drew every tree, every stone, every path and stream, and clearing with the patient attention of someone who loved this place and wanted to remember it perfectly, forever. The dragon makes another soft sound and reaches for a second scroll, then a third. Each one is unrolled gently, placed beside the others, and each one shows a different place. A chain of islands in a warm sea, the water around them shading from turquoise to deep sapphire, each island crowned with palm trees drawn in the most delicate strokes of green. A mountain valley blanketed in snow, the peaks so white they seem to glow against the deep blue sky, with a single frozen lake at the valley's center. Its surface shone as the smoothest, most perfect expanse of pale blue-white. A desert at twilight, the sand rendered in 1,000 shades of gold and orange and rose, the dunes curving in great, sweeping arcs that cast long purple shadows across the landscape. And in the distance, an oasis, a circle of green, impossibly bright against all that gold, with a pool of water so still that it perfectly mirrors the first stars of evening. Each map is a memory, you understand. Each one is a place that Veldramyn has visited over the course of a life that spans millennia, and each one has been preserved with love and precision, not just the physical details of the landscape, but the feeling of the place, the quality of its light, the particular way the wind moved through it, the sounds that filled it. Looking at these maps, you do not just see these places, you feel them. And the feeling is always the same: peace. Deep, abiding, quiet peace. As though every place the dragon has visited and mapped has given Veldramyn a gift of stillness, and the dragon has gathered these gifts and brought them here, to this tower, and poured them into these maps, so that anyone who looks at them might feel that same stillness. You feel it now. It settles over you like a blanket, warm and soft and impossibly light. Veldramyn carefully rolls the old maps and returns them to their shelves. Each scroll is placed back in its exact position, with a tenderness that speaks of deep reverence for these records of remembered beauty. Then the dragon returns to the worktable and to the river map that is still in progress, and you return to your chair, your wonderful, soft, deep chair that holds you so perfectly. The room has grown quieter, if that is possible. The candles have burned lower, their flames smaller and steadier now, casting a more intimate glow. Through the dome above, the stars have grown brighter, and the painted, or enchanted, sky shows the Milky Way as a great river of light stretching from one side of the ceiling to the other, so dense with stars that it looks like luminous dust scattered across dark velvet. Breathe deeply now. Let your body sink further into the chair. Feel how the cushions support you, how the warmth surrounds you, how there is absolutely nothing required of you in this moment but to rest, and to breathe, and to be here. Veldramyn opens a small wooden box on the table and withdraws from it a thin book of gold leaf. The sheets are impossibly thin, thinner than paper, thinner than thought, and they catch the light with a warm, liquid gleam. The dragon lifts a single sheet with a tool that looks like a very fine, flat brush, and holds it for a moment, letting it float on the warmth of the air rising from the candles. Then, with infinite care, the dragon begins to lay the gold leaf onto the map. It goes along the course of the main river, covering the blue ink with a thin vein of gold that transforms the river into something luminous, something that seems to glow from within. Veldramyn presses the gold gently into the parchment with a soft cloth, smoothing it, shaping it, and where the excess gold falls away, tiny flakes drift down like the smallest, most golden snowflakes you have ever seen, settling on the dark surface of the table like scattered stars. The effect is breathtaking. The river now shines on the map as though real sunlight were falling upon real water, and the gold seems to pulse faintly with the same rhythm as the dragon's breathing, slow, steady, warm. Let that warmth flow through you now. From the crown of your head, down through your face, softening your brow, relaxing the muscles around your eyes. Down through your neck, your shoulders, your arms. Through your chest and your belly, down through your hips, your legs, all the way to the tips of your toes. Warmth and softness everywhere. Veldramyn continues, adding gold to other rivers on the map, to the edges of the mountains, to the frames and borders that surround the image. Each application is slow and precise, and the quiet sound of the soft cloth pressing gold into parchment is deeply soothing. A gentle, rhythmic swishing, like a hand smoothing the covers of a bed, like a whisper repeated again and again in a language made entirely of comfort. Outside, through the small windows that ring the top of the tower, the meadow has disappeared into night. The world beyond the tower is dark and quiet, filled with the sounds of sleeping things, crickets singing their slow, hypnotic songs, the occasional hoot of an owl, the distant rustle of a breeze through the tall grasses. Inside, there is only the candlelight and the gold and the dragon's deep, steady breathing and you. You are aware of a profound stillness settling into you, a quietness that goes deeper than silence. It is the kind of stillness that you find at the very bottom of a deep, clear lake, where the water is perfectly still, and the light filters down in long, golden rays and nothing moves except the gentlest, slowest currents. You are sinking into that stillness now, slowly, pleasantly, like sinking into the softest bed you have ever known. Veldramyn looks at you, and in those amber eyes there is a knowing warmth, a recognition that you are exactly where you need to be, that this moment of quiet is exactly what you came here to find, that the tower and the maps and the gold and the starlight are all, in some way, a lullaby that the dragon has been composing for a very long time, waiting for someone to come and listen. The gold leaf work continues, slow and steady, and you watch through half-closed eyes as the map transforms, line by golden line, into something that is less a representation of geography and more a prayer of light upon parchment, something sacred and quiet and infinitely gentle. The gold leaf is finished. The map glows softly on the table, its rivers and mountains and borders shining in the candlelight. Veldramyn sets aside the tools and rests both great hands upon the table's edge, and for a long moment the dragon simply looks at the map, breathing slowly, admiring the work with the quiet satisfaction of an artist who has poured something true and good into the world. Then Veldramyn begins to speak. The dragon's voice is unlike anything you have heard before. It is low and deep and warm, like the sound of a cello played very softly in an empty cathedral, the notes resonating in the stone and the air and the spaces between. It is a voice that seems to come from everywhere at once, from the walls of the tower, from the dome of stars above, from the cushions of your chair, from the very core of the earth beneath you. It vibrates in your chest, and the vibration is deeply, immeasurably soothing. Let your eyes close now. Let the dragon's voice carry you. There is nothing you need to see. Only listen and breathe and drift. I have been drawing maps, Veldramyn says, and the words are slow and measured, each one given its full weight, its full breath, for longer than the oldest trees in the oldest forests. I began when the world was young and the rivers had not yet decided where they wanted to go, and the mountains were still rising from the plains, and the oceans were still finding their edges. The dragon pauses, and in the pause there is only breathing, slow, deep, rhythmic. I draw maps because the world is beautiful, and beauty deserves to be remembered. Every coastline, every valley, every place where a river meets the sea, each one is a story that the earth has been telling itself for millions of years, and I am simply the one who writes it down. The voice rolls over you like warm water, like sunlight through closed eyelids, like the feeling of being perfectly safe and perfectly held. Each word is a stone placed carefully in a stream, and the spaces between the words are filled with the gentle sound of the dragon's breathing and the faint, faraway murmur of the painted rivers on the map. I have drawn the ice fields of the north, where the light is blue and the silence is so deep that you can hear snowflakes landing on the ground. I have drawn the coral reefs of the southern seas, where the water is so clear that the sunlight reaches all the way to the bottom and the fish move through it like living jewels. I have drawn forests and deserts and prairies and islands, and each one has taught me something about patience, and about paying attention, and about the extraordinary gift of being alive in a world that is so endlessly, quietly magnificent. Breathe slowly now. Let each breath carry you deeper into rest, deeper into the warm, quiet space that the dragon's voice is creating around you. The secret of cartography, Veldramyn continues, is that it is not really about geography at all. It is about love. To make a true map of a place, you must love it. You must walk through it slowly, with your eyes and your heart open, and you must notice everything. The way the light falls on the water at a certain hour, the sound the wind makes in a certain pass between two mountains, the color of the earth in a certain valley after the rain. You must let the place enter you, and then you must let it flow out again through your hands and onto the parchment. And if you have been patient and attentive and true, what appears on the paper will be more than lines and colors. It will be the place itself, held safe forever. The dragon's voice grows softer, slower, each word arriving like a leaf drifting down from a tall tree in still air. And that is what I wish for you tonight. I wish for you to be held safe, to rest, to let the world go on without you for a while, turning its slow circles under the stars, while you are here, warm and quiet and still, in this room where everything has been made with love and where nothing can trouble you. The words dissolve into the sound of breathing, the dragon's and yours, synchronized now, moving together like two tides in the same gentle sea. Time has become soft and uncertain. You do not know how long you have been sitting in this chair, listening to the dragon's breathing, watching the candlelight play across the maps and instruments of this beautiful room. It might have been minutes, it might have been hours. It does not matter. Time, in this tower, moves the way honey moves slowly, sweetly, without edges. Veldramyn has turned to a different part of the work table, where a row of small glass bottles is arranged in a long line. Each bottle contains ink, but these are not ordinary inks. They glow faintly in the candlelight, each one a different color, each one shimmering with an inner luminescence that suggests they are made from something more than simple pigment. The dragon selects a bottle of ink the color of twilight, that precise shade of deep blue-violet that appears in the sky for just a few minutes each evening, when the last light has faded but the darkness has not yet fully arrived. Veldramyn uncorks the bottle, and a scent rises from it, the scent of evening, of cool air and distant flowers, and the first dew forming on grass. Let your shoulders release any last trace of tension. Let your hands rest open and easy. Let your jaw soften, your tongue rest gently in your mouth, your brow become smooth and still. There is nothing to hold, nothing to clench, nothing to guard against. The dragon dips a fine brush into the twilight ink and begins to paint on a fresh sheet of parchment. What emerges is not a map this time, but something simpler, something even more soothing, a sky. Just a sky. A vast, gentle expanse of twilight, deepening from pale violet at one edge to deep indigo at the other, with stars appearing one by one as the brush moves slowly across the surface. Each star is a single, precise dot of silver ink, and as Veldramyn places each one, the dragon breathes out a soft, warm exhale, and the star seems to brighten for a moment, as though the breath itself is lighting it, as though these painted stars are being kindled by the same fire that burns in the dragon's ancient heart. The rhythm is deeply hypnotic. Dip the brush, touch the parchment, breathe, a star appears, dip the brush, touch the parchment, breathe, another star. Again and again, in a rhythm as steady and eternal as the turning of the earth, as the rising and setting of the real stars in the real sky outside the tower. You are sinking deeper now, deeper into the chair, deeper into the warmth, deeper into that quiet place where thought becomes dream, and dream becomes a kind of gentle floating, like being carried on a slow river through a landscape of soft, dark velvet. The dragon's breathing is your breathing. The rhythm of the stars appearing on the parchment is the rhythm of your own heartbeat, slowing, steadying, finding its resting pace. Veldramyn adds the faintest suggestion of clouds to the twilight sky, long, thin wisps of pale gray and silver, stretched across the heavens like scarves of silk caught in a breeze so gentle it is barely there at all. The clouds soften the stars behind them, making them glow with a diffused, dreamy light, and the whole painting becomes something that is less an image and more a feeling. The feeling of lying in a meadow on a warm night and looking up at a sky so beautiful and so vast that it makes everything else seem small and quiet and perfectly, peacefully insignificant. The candles are burning very low now. Some have gone out entirely, their wicks sending up thin, lazy threads of smoke that curl and dissolve in the warm air. The room is dimmer, softer, the shadows deeper and more velvety. The dome above is alive with stars, the painted ones and the real ones blending together until you cannot tell where the ceiling ends and the sky begins. Breathe slowly, deeply, easily. The dragon sets down the brush. The twilight painting is complete, a sky of infinite depth and gentleness, scattered with stars that seem to pulse faintly with their own quiet light. Veldramyn looks at it for a long, peaceful moment, then looks at you with those half-closed amber eyes, and the expression on the great, ancient face is one of perfect contentment, the contentment of a being that has found its purpose and has spent eternity fulfilling it with love. The tower is very still now. Most of the candles have burned down to nothing, and the room is lit only by the glow of the stardome above and the faint luminescence of the maps on the walls. The gold leaf catching what little light remains and reflecting it back in soft, warm gleams that move like fireflies in the darkness. Veldramyn has settled back around the work table, but the dragon is no longer working. The great body has curled into a resting position, the long tail wrapped around in a gentle curve, the wings folded close, the massive head resting on crossed forepaws. The amber eyes are nearly closed, just the thinnest slivers of warm light visible beneath the heavy lids, and the breathing has deepened to its slowest, most profound rhythm yet. In and out, in and out. Each breath takes an eternity, each breath is a world. You are so deeply relaxed now that your body feels as though it is made of something softer than flesh, something like cloud or warm water or the memory of light. You are still in your chair, still in the room at the top of the tower, but the boundaries between you and the chair, between you and the room, between you and the warm, breathing darkness have grown soft and indistinct, like ink dissolving in water, like the edges of a dream. There is nothing to think about, there is nothing to worry about, there is nothing to plan or remember or decide. There is only this moment, this warm, dark, breathing moment, and it is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything. The dragon's breathing continues, slow and deep, and with each exhale, a warmth flows through the room that you can feel on your skin like the lightest touch of sunlight. It carries you further into stillness, further into that deep, quiet place where everything is soft and safe and gently, endlessly peaceful. Outside the tower, the meadow sleeps. The grasses are still. The crickets have grown quiet. The only sound in all the world is the dragon's breathing and the distant, almost imperceptible turning of the stars in the dome above, a sound like the universe humming to itself, a lullaby older than time. Let go now of anything you are still holding. Any thought, any image, any last thread of wakefulness that remains, let it drift away, like a leaf on a slow river, like a cloud dissolving in a clear sky, like the last note of a song fading into silence. You do not need to hold it. It will